Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I hope I am audible to you.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Hello. Hello.
Hello, yes, sir.
Very good afternoon. It's a time to start a second session. Already resource person has been arrived. So before starting the session, I would like to introduce myself. Working as an assistant professor.
It should not be a
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Shall we start the session, sir?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Before starting, I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Satish, working as an assistant professor in the Department of the Pharmacy Practice. Resource person has already arrived. It's about to start the session. Before starting the session, I'd like to introduce resource person. Name of the resource person is Dr. Jayaprakash Appaji Gold. Sir completed UG in BM Patil Medical College, Vijaypur, and sir completed his medical MD from Tumkur, and sir joined for the KLE University in the year 2018. Presently, sir worked in different designations. In his sir joined his career as an assistant professor and presently serving as an associate professor. Since sir is having a 13 years experience in the profession, and area of interest is epidemiology of the diabetes, epidemiology of diabetes mellitus and hypertension. Sir is having international and national publications to his credit. Sir involved in all phases of the clinical trials, including first phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4. With this brief introduction, I hand over the session to Dr. Jayaprakash Appaji Gold, sir, to continue with the session.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Just listen to help starting sharing the slides. Can you see my slides?
Yes, sir.
Visual, no?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Fine. So next 15-20 minutes or so, we're going to see importance of how to recruit and retain patients in the clinical studies. Okay. It's always a challenging to recruit a patient and also later on to see that they complete the study, right? So just give example, start with an example. Mr. X newly detected to have high sugars, came for consultation. His blood sugars was fasting was 130, post-prandial was 210, and HbA1c was 7.6, suggestive of he is diabetic. He was fulfilling the criteria for enrollment in a study. So just as a team, we explained them what are the advantages, disadvantages of getting into the study. Okay, so any patient getting enrolled in the study will have so many questions like what I get by participating in the trial or a study, or those drugs being tried on me first time or already it is being used somewhere else, right? Or already studies have been done on the animals or human beings. What are side effects? There are some of the questions. Why should I suffer from the side effects of an unknown drug? So if I get a placebo, what happens to my disease? Already sugars are higher side. There may be placebo control studies may be there. So if he gets a placebo, how his sugars are going to be controlled. So if at all you are trying an expensive medicine, for example, which is going to cost around 1,000 rupees per day, we give him as a base of trial. So later what is going to happen after the end of the trial, that the same drug or pain benefit patient is going to get throughout his lifetime, or he has to go back to his original cheaper medicines. So all these questions are common while enrolling a patient and retaining a patient in a study. So we need to convince, we need to carry the realities with the patient, and we need to discuss realities and come to some conclusion, right? So why this recruitment and retention is important for a study? So the importance is validity of clinical research depends on the power of the study. If power of the study is good, so it becomes like study or results can be extrapolated to the population. So to get a good power out of study and to do a valid study, adequate number of recruitment is important. So which should represent the general population. And retaining these patients to complete the study is also important to see adverse effects and effects for a longer time basis. So, and making sure the protocol is followed correctly is also one of the important part of getting good power out of the study. In that way, clinical trial validity depends on making sure the protocol is also followed. So over the last 10 years, what has happened in recruitment and retention of the patient? For the last 10 years or 15 years or so, getting patients and doctors into clinical trial has become the most delay-ridden and most difficult aspect of drug discovery and development. Most common reason for this is failure of this has become recruitment and retention has become the most common reason for failure of any clinical trial. At least 80% of pharmaceutical trials do not meet enrollment deadlines, resulting in a loss of about $1.3 million per day for a given candidate or a new drug. So these figures have come from research, right? So enormous amount of money is lost, time is lost, and enormous amount of resources are lost because we cannot find a suitable patient and a person to do the study. So what are the different barriers for recruitment of a patient or a participant or a study subject? So we classify these barriers for recruitment as subject-related barriers, investigator-related barriers, protocol-related barriers, and some other barriers. We'll see what are these subject-related barriers. So most common problem is subject-related barrier is if a new drug is given, patient always thinks of side effects. In fact, side effect can be there. We are trying on a patient or a person, this kind of it. Inconvenient schedules of appointment. Generally, in some strictly followed multinational studies, a lot of inconvenience scheduling will be there. Appointment timings will be there. So, for example, patient has to come to the site around 7 a.m. in the morning. He has to stay up to 7 p.m. in the night. Such things will be there, or repeated blood sampling will be there. Such things can be inconvenient. Uncertainty associated with clinical trial. Don't know. At the end, the patient may end up with saying that the drug is not useful or more harmful. Disease status, age of the patient, educational status of the patient, and cultural issues also are the major barriers. For example, patient is having more disease and cannot walk because of his age or because of educational status. He may not use some specific applications on the mobile. Many studies are connected with the mobile. Such things are also subject-related barriers. If the person or participant is uneducated, if you ask him to use a mobile app, such things become barriers for the investigator-related barriers. All the sponsors and CROs wants investigators who have more number of patients. More number of patients some doctor is seeing, he has less time, and he will be seeing more of the clinical trials he'll be doing. So investigator time will be compromised. There may be competitive studies in the site, which also compromises the recruitment. Lack of motivation on part of the investigator, also inadequate financial incentives also add to the investigator-related barriers. Some protocol-related barriers. Many times, protocol-related barriers are very difficult to modify because the specific protocol generally has been reviewed by most of the people in the sponsor site or FDA site. Finally, they'll come up with a very tight criteria because to know the exact effect of the drug on a person or a disease, you need to have a very good inclusion, exclusion criteria. More inclusion and exclusion criteria, we can understand the specific nature of the drug. By doing so, the study becomes more complex and very difficult for adherence of the study, both for the investigator and the patient. In that way, it's one of the important drawbacks. So there are some other barriers like negative influence from the media, like you might have seen a serial already going on in OTT. There are site-specific barriers are there. A bigger hospital is there. Walking will be difficult. Somewhere he has to park the car and come, or a smaller hospital, like deep inside the city, difficult to reach hospitals. Such things are also site-specific. There are site-specific protocols, maybe changes may be there, which are also barriers for the study. So worldwide, what are the top concerns for the patient for recruitment? So many patients are scared that you are giving a placebo. Side effect is the next concern. Access to the drug and treatment availability. After the presently already treatment is there, why we want to do a new drug? Maybe one more concern. So top concerns in our experience. Our patients at our site are more worried about the side effects of. If you tell that you are giving a new drug, they are more worried about side effects. Number of investigations, repeated blood samplings, number of visits. For example, a diabetic drug we give in an OPD basis as a normal treatment we give conventionally. We give a tablet and ask them to come after 3 months. Here, somebody is on a study, he has to come every week, every 15 days, multiple blood samples. There are also number of visits are increased. And concerns of the placebo is the last one in our experience at our sites. 5 people participate in clinical trials. Generally, what is the survey? What it shows? 5 relief. Conventional treatment is not getting cured of. Most of the time, it holds good. This answer holds good in case of cancer studies. Some people want advancement in the science by participating. There are some good financial support for some of the drugs. In that way, to earn money, better medical care. When some person is there in a clinical study, the medical care will be very accurate. There are so many people observing the patient, right from the site personnel, site doctors, site CRCs to up to even the sponsor will be observing. So now coming to retention of the persons participants in the study. Definition is keeping subject in the study. Why do we care? The high retention rate of the patient and control subjects is an important criteria for credibility and accuracy of the clinical trial. So what are the barriers for this retention? Again, we divide these barriers for retention as subject-related barriers, investigator-related barriers, protocol-related barriers, and other barriers. Subject-related barriers, again, side effects, long waiting time associated with the clinical visits. So many times, like for example, some study is going on for 2 years, 3 years. Every month you have to come and wait. You may lose some of the working out, the productive working time or quality time with the family every week or every month. Unrealistic expectations. There may be unrealistic expectation, like patient has to do so many number of blood samples, disease status, education status, and changing jobs. If person or participant change jobs after 6 months, goes for some other place, he cannot continue to be there as a part of the study. Some investigator-related barriers: lack of time to investigate too many clinical trials, complicated studies. As I told in recruitment, also this is going to affect lack of motivation from the investigator and inadequate incentives. Protocol-related barriers are complex study designs. Complex study designs, like he comes for blood checkup, gives around each time he gives around 2-3 blood samples once in a week. Lengthy study periods. Somebody has to participate for a week or 15-day study. Most of the time, retention is good. The same study if you take for 3 years is there, then retention is bad. Excessive visits. Some studies which are requiring some once in a month or once in 2 months will have good retention. Somebody's you call every week, retention is going to deteriorate. Dosage schedules. If some drug is given once in a week, good retention definitely. Some same medicine has to be given 2-3 times. So for example, medicine is a injectable, then retention is again a difficulty. So if you advise some great change in his lifestyle for a purpose of the study, it becomes very difficult. It's very difficult. So a person has to walk for 1 kilometer every day. He never walked. Such patients, very difficult to convince them to do that same thing. or writing diaries. If you ask to write 2-3 times whatever the food he has taken every day for the study period, many times patient won't be compliant. It may become a nuisance for them. As I told, media and site-specific barriers are also always there. So how to improve the strategy of retention? While signing the consent, we need to explain them what are the different requirements from the patient throughout the study. What is the length of the study? How many type blood samples are there? How is the dosing? What mode of IP we are going to administer? When he has to come for the visits, how frequently, what time, how is going to come, whether we are arranging for his travel, how much money we are going to support him for the travel. He's going to lose his daily wage if at all is worker, whether we are going to compensate. All these things has to be communicated properly. Treating participants with respect is also a very important part of retention of the patients. Communication about the disease process, what disease going on, what changes we are seeing after the visit, next visit. Attention to factors such as transportation, as I told, is one of the important aspects of retention of the study subjects. Communication with the staff. If your study team is good and they are caring and speaking to the participant in a better way to convince them what's happening, calling them in between, and sending newsletters, what new things you have throughout the, like somebody is having a long-term study, after 6 months, some new outcomes comes of the study. If you can communicate through their phone or social networking websites, you can convey them the positive results or negative results. Patient may feel like their confidence level will be improved. Person may continue in the study. Remembering special occasions and greeting them during their anniversaries, birthdays also helps. Arranging compensation of transportation is a must, and it also helps to retain the patients. Any problems are there, you address them properly, sympathize with them, address them. Any adverse effects they are getting, show it to a proper doctor and document and treat them. Avoid large gaps between study contacts. If somebody's visit is around once in 3 months, don't wait for 3 months. You can have a telephonic conversation once in 15 days and ask them how are you, what you are doing, how is the drug, what is your sugar controls, or what is the disease control. Such things like a friendly talk frequently will make them to get connected with the study staff and have good attention. Respond to complaints properly. Consider decreasing workload, daily diaries. If at all the protocol has protocol allows it, it can be a number of blood draws. If it can be reduced, can be done. Study visits and all that protocol specific. If all is possible, can do it. And like 2 visits can be done in 1 visit by protocol. According to protocol, we can follow that. So finally, retention of participants throughout the study is critical for the success of any study. So what is the way ahead? Good recruitment and retention are critical for any successful trial, and these also reflect potential of the site. If the site is doing good recruitment and retention, it is one of the positive point for the site. Extensive research has been done on recruitment and retention of subjects in the Western countries, and they conclude that these are the science and skill. Recruitment and retention have been studied and they have found out it is a science, it's a skill. You can use those skills and science and points and can increase the retention and recruitments. So retention and recruitment can be maximized by further research and practices. We need to address what are the problems they are facing, why recruitment is less or retention is less, and we need to do a research on it, and we need to maximize or improve over that. So we need research in Indian-based context, participant background, education and socio-economic status, knowledge about the clinical trial is totally different in Indian scenario. We need research in Indian context. So overall country attractiveness index of clinical trials, China tops, next is our country. So the way ahead, our SMO is handling plenty of clinical trials with number of recruitments and follow-ups every day. Through this, I urge the investigators, co-investigators, coordinators, and students to utilize the resource available and add an Indian perspective to the science and skill of recruitment and retention in drug trials. Thank you. Any questions?
Dear delegates, regarding the topic, if you have any doubts, you can ask to the clinicians.
అవన్నీ మన ఫ్యాకల్టీ అని నాన్ టీచింగ్ అని చేస్తారు. అందులో అలవాటు అయిపోయినారు. మనం అప్పటికప్పుడు ఏం చేయాలంటే మన వాళ్ళు
If there are no questions, we'll stop here. Thank you.
Being a clinician with his vast experience in a clinical trials, Dr. Jayaprakash Appajigal sir explained the importance of retention of a subject in clinical trials regarding various barriers, how the barriers are going to affect the recruitment and retention, that how retention and recruitment of the patients is very important in cases of continuation of the trials. With that, I would like to say a special thanks to Jayaprakash sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear participants, this is the end of today's morning session. We'll start at evening session at exactly from 3 o'clock.
Thank you.